I'm Carrie Schilling with Kettering Health Network's Community Outreach Department, and I also lead our Integrative Medicine Program Services for Oncology Service Line. I'm here today to talk with you about stress, and Stress Detox is the name of our program. My first question for you is, are you stressed? Yes, we're all stressed. We all have stresses that we're facing, very unique stresses that we're facing at this point in history. I cannot stand up here and tell you how to get rid of the stress in your life. We're all going to have stress in our lives. What I would like to talk with you about is how do we moderate some of those effects on our body. So what is stress? When we're walking in the woods and we encounter a bear, right, we want to feel that dump of cortisol. The stress response in the body dumps chemicals that give us that survival ability, that fight or flight. So what is stress? When we're facing that immediate threat, we want that dump of chemicals into our body, right, that help us survive. But the stress we encounter today is less likely to be a bear in the woods, and more likely to be that bear is the person we're waking up to each morning, or the boss that we're coming into work to encounter, meeting schedules, finances and taxes and bills, traffic, well, maybe traffic now, or if you're working from home, a whole different set of stresses, homeschooling children, or just watching the news. Our bear today is less likely to jump out from behind a tree and more likely to just be sitting beside us all day long. So the cortisol dump that we should get by nature dumped into our system, fight or flight sets in, that survival instinct. We're going to fight or we're going to run. By history, by nature, we should get that dump, fight or run, and then once the threat is over, we just collapse and recover. That's not quite how our stresses work today. There's something that linger with us throughout the day. What we need to be aware of is our body is still dumping that cortisol. So the things that happen when we encounter the bear, the dump of cortisol, you start to feel that tingling maybe in your fingers or your lips or your thighs. Our heart rate increases. Our physical body just feels more geared. Our reptilian brain, that survival brain, kicks in, but the higher brain function is diminished a little bit. You don't need to do algebra when you're about to run or fight. Our gastric peristalsis, the movement of our gastric muscles and juices, slows down. We don't need to be digesting our sandwich at this particular moment. We need to be gearing up to fight or run. So all of those body systems that aid us in fighting or running kick in. The blood thickens a little bit because we're preparing to bleed. These things are great in an urgent crisis. But in that daily trickle, the responses are just a slow, continuous, and we never get that break from it. The trick is Mark Twain, or maybe it was Winston Churchill, or perhaps Yogi Berra, depending on where you find this quote on the internet. I've known a great many troubles, but most of them have never happened. Our body does not recognize the difference between that real threat and the imagined threat. All of those responses to cortisol are occurring, whether this is the bear in the woods, the bear sitting next to us in our office or on our sofa, or me thinking about that bear. I can dump that same cortisol in my system by just my thoughts of that difficult conversation, that difficult situation, that thing that frightens me. Our body responds the same to that cortisol, whether I'm faced with it imminently, whether it's just trailing me along all day, or I'm just sitting quietly and thinking and ruminating about that stressor in my life. So if I can't help you get rid of any stress in your life, because that's not realistic, if I can introduce to you some ideas to help us spend more of our time in rest and digest and less of our time in fight or flight. Rest and digest is that opposite end of fight or flight. Fight or flight is when we're either dumping cortisol into our system or is that slow, steady stream of cortisol into our system. Rest and digest is the opposite. That's when our endorphins and our other neurotransmitters that are healthier and regulating help us maintain homeostasis, which is that healthy balance where we would like our bodies to be at all times. The rest and digest state of being is where our respirations and heart rate can return to healthy, normal levels. Our blood chemistry, that thickening that can happen when we're preparing to bleed, that settles back down again. Our gastric juices start to go again. Our peristalsis, the muscle contractions that help us aid in digestion and movement of substances through our system, are operating more fully. Think about the how many people we have in our society on blood pressure medications, gastric, the proton pump inhibitors, the Nexiums and the Prilosec and the Protonics, and what can we do to just aid our body to return to that normal process? It may be an indication of the stress level that we're all facing if we look at all of the diagnoses that bring us into our primary care. There's some numbers that reflect a significant portion of primary care visits are stress-related disorders. So helping to interject with that stress throughout our day, helping to find moments in our day that we can bring that fight or flight system down and enhance that rest and digest system will help and aid to bring our bodies into just a healthier state for mind, body, physical and emotional well-being. So that's what I want to talk about now. What are some of the ways that you address stress in your life? What are you doing? Is there anything you're doing on a daily basis that help you bring that stress level back into a comfortable zone throughout the course of your day? Are you able to identify when your stress has been triggered? Or is the stress level just functioning at such a high level that you don't even notice when it's triggered? I would encourage you to kind of think about that a little bit. What are the triggers through the course of your day? And what is your physiological response to that? What in your body tells you that you're stressed? How do you stop to take the moment to check in with your body and say, ooh, I'm not breathing deeply. Ooh, I've got that tightness in my stomach right now. How do you set up times through the course of your day that you might check in a little bit with yourself, find out what's triggering you, and then find ways to interact with that stress and interject moments of calm in your day? We all have developed some coping skill at this point in our lives. We've made it this far. But I would challenge you to think about, is your coping skill really healthy? And can you do something, can you yourself, learn some skills to enhance that, to make some changes, to improve that? I am an RN. I also teach mindfulness meditation. And I am a little biased. My favorite go-to is mindfulness, is meditation. I have been a meditator for about 30 years myself. I'm so excited to be at a point in life when I can talk to others about it and expose others to the benefits. Saying I meditate is like saying I play sports. What kind of sport do you play? What type of meditation do you do? Mindfulness is one style, one type of meditation. Mindfulness is staying present in this current moment. And what is occurring biologically when we can put these practices into place throughout our day is we're just bringing that cortisol down. It's the antidote to that cortisol dump or that cortisol trickle into our systems. And when we become more practiced with it, it's amazing how you can start to feel the physical changes very quickly by just simply bringing that cortisol level back into a more manageable level so that the body can go back into healthier behaviors. I mentioned I've been meditating for a long time. Now, these are very good articles, but you can see they're a little bit older articles. But the reason I put these research articles up here is 15 years ago, if you had done a search for research regarding meditation or mindfulness, you would have found maybe 100 studies. Now you'll find thousands of studies. It's everywhere. You can't go through the grocery store checkout line without there being some magazine there on mindfulness. The fact that the American Psychological Association had some mindfulness research was not terribly surprising. I mean, it's the American Psychological Association. But when I started to see more articles in like the American Medical Association, again, we know that a significant number of primary care doctor visits are stress-related disorders. It would make sense that the American Medical Association would start to take some notice of the research because it's substantial. But then we start to see articles in things like Harvard Business Review. And when business started really taking note, large organizations, Google actually has their own meditation team. If you Google Talks, you'll find quite a few things about mindfulness and meditation. Many of these very large organizations are introducing programming for their employees that incorporate mindfulness and meditation because they recognize the physical benefit, how much healthier folks are. And I mentioned that the brain function, when we're stressed, we're in more of a reptilian, a survival brain function. In that rest and digest, we can access more of our frontal brain, the higher functioning, the higher processing areas of the brain. So when you really want to get in that afternoon flow, when you really need to sit down and write that report or balance those books or do that thing that you need a lot of focus and attention on, taking a few moments to settle your system, bring yourself into that rest and digest will really help that flow, help that higher brain function to accomplish those things you're trying to accomplish. So the research is everywhere now. It's not a question of whether mindfulness and meditation are helpful anymore. It's a matter of how do we get this interjected into the course of our day. Mindfulness, defined by UCLA Mindful Awareness Research Center, which is one of the leading schools in mindful research right now, they define mindfulness as paying attention to present moment experiences with openness, curiosity, and a willingness to be with what is. Simply paying attention to the present moment. For just a moment, I would invite you to sit comfortably wherever you are. It can benefit to have both feet on the floor, but not necessary. Sit comfortably where you are. Honor your body, support your body. If you have shoulder issues, back issues, get into a position that's comfortable for that. And then soften your eyes a bit. You may close your eyes. You may just find a place in front of you, a few feet in front of you, where you can just soften your eyelids and soften your gaze. And for just a moment, notice your environment. Pay attention to what are you hearing right now? Perhaps in the quiet, you're hearing voices in another room. Perhaps it's traffic outside your window. Maybe the ventilation system. Whatever that is that you're hearing. Cars coming and going. What are you smelling? What's in your environment right now? Perhaps your coffee or what's been cooked in your environment recently. Perhaps a perfume or cologne. What are you smelling? And as you open your eyes back up and take a deep breath, paying attention to that present moment experience with openness and curiosity and a willingness to be with what is. Just bringing our thoughts into where we are right now. We don't need to engage with those cars driving by. I don't need to know what that conversation is out in the hallway. We're just noticing that it is. That simple 1 minute, bringing ourselves into what's currently happening and not trying to engage with it, is a simple practice of mindfulness. People have a misunderstanding of what meditation is, what mindfulness is, that somehow it has to be in a separate part of our day. It has to be something I've carved out more time for. If that's not stressful enough, tell me I have to put another 20 minutes of something else in my day, right? So let's just not focus on developing a pillow practice, but developing how you can interject throughout the course of your day. Simple moments like that. There is a practice that is simply, if I could give you one homework assignment from this lesson today, I would encourage you to take a moment to sit and write down 6 pairs of words. Things that bring you a sense of calm, things that bring you a sense of just that exhale. That might be calm and serenity. It may be comfort and warmth. It may be, maybe you have a favorite fuzzy blanket that you curl up with to watch your Netflix movies, right? Maybe it's blue and fuzzy. I love the beach. I can't visualize. When I close my eyes, I can't come up with that picture in my head. But when I close my eyes, I can see that blue of the sky and the green of the emerald green waters, that color of the white sand. So for me, 2 of those words are just simply blue and green, knowing that I'm referencing that beach scene in my mind. Perhaps it's 2 people in your life that you love, and 2 people that bring you to a healthy place, not 2 people that are strained relationships, but 2 people that bring you to a place where you are truly feel whole and welcomed and accepted. So whatever that is, 6 pairs of words that bring you a sense of joy or serenity, calmness. And through the course of your day, I would encourage you to interject 1 minute of breathing. Right now, although I would like you to set up your own 6 pairs of words, if I could get you to, again, I invite you to just put your feet on the floor if that's comfortable. Find a comfortable, shift in your position, find a comfortable place to get settled in. And for just a moment, don't change your breathing, but on your next inhale, think calm. And exhale, peace. Inhale, think warmth. Exhale, think comfort. Inhale, serenity. Exhale, think love. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. 6 pairs of words, 6 breaths. Those 6 pairs of words, inhaling, exhaling, 1 minute through the course of your day, interjected at those times that you know that you're about to face a stressful situation, or when you need a little more mental clarity and focus. Does not require a set-aside time of your day, does not require a specific location or a posturing. just requires bringing our thoughts and our body into this current moment here. Stress and anxiety live in the past and the future. Stress and anxiety in our current world today, again, rarely is there a bear actually chasing me. Rarely is there a reason for my body to dump cortisol that's not created in my mind, that's an actual threat. So what has happened in the past, as I rehash that, I think over that conversation, I allow myself to get upset again about that situation and that conversation. Or the anxiety and the stress of what's to come, that next presentation I have to do, that next conversation I have to have, the next bill I need to pay. Those are things in the future. Very real stresses. But just the same, they're not in the here and now. And the more I can bring my body into that homeostatic state in the here and now, the more wellness benefit I will have for my physical body and my mental health. The next thing to say about mindfulness, about that meditation, is in just that couple minutes I invited you to join me. A minute each time, or 2 minutes. How long did it take for your mind to start thinking, how long is this going to take? How long is she going to do this? Starting to make your grocery list, deciding whether you should just turn this off and go on to something else, thinking about all the other things you should be doing, or something completely different. Wow, I'm hungry. I think, what should I have to eat? Right? Our mind doesn't stop thinking. We cannot tell our mind to stop thinking any more than we can tell our heart to stop beating. I often hear from folks, oh, I tried to meditate, but I couldn't. I just couldn't shut my mind off. Well, thank goodness. No, you couldn't. We can't. We don't. And that's not the goal. The goal of mindfulness is to simply focus our awareness, direct those thoughts, and allow us to take control of those thoughts. How many times through the course of your day are you just wandering? Perhaps a thought comes up or a situation comes up, and we just start creating a whole story in our mind, creating a whole conversation in our mind. But that conversation never actually took place. Back to that quote earlier, I've known a great many troubles, but most of them have never happened. How many times do we create that story in our mind of a conversation or a situation, and we just go down this rabbit hole of creating stress for ourselves? But the conversation never actually took place, nor will it likely take place. Or at least not the way that we are imagining it in our mind. So how do we interject? How do we put in practices in our life to interject right there and stop that thought process? It's not benefiting us to dump that cortisol, to start to trickle that cortisol back into our systems. So when we find ourselves start those thoughts, don't believe everything you think. The idea here with the train, in that couple minutes of meditation, that couple moments of breathing that I asked you to do, and your mind already was jumping to something else, completely natural, completely natural, that your mind is going to, at the first time you're not engaging it, it's going to start its own thought process. How do we interject and imagine you're on a platform, a train platform, right? And we're just waiting on this platform. We're trying to just breathe, just feel our breath. Feel the breath in, feel the breath out. And that first engine comes along, that first part of the train comes along, that thought, that distraction. Now we have a choice at this point. We can recognize the engine and just let it pass us by, stay on the platform, go back to the breath. Breath in, breath out. We can recognize that train and let it pass on by and stay here. Acknowledge it, it's gone. Or I can jump on that train and I can start adding cars to it. That thought of, how long is she going to make me sit here, to, I have other things I need to do. Why didn't I get that done yesterday? Oh, now I have to go do this. How am I going to get this done today? Oh, I have that thing to do. Now we've just kept adding cars onto that train. It just keeps getting bigger and the story keeps going, and it manifests and creates into different stories and conversations. We all do it. It's human nature. If we really want to get effective with intervening with our stress levels, that's the practice we want to find ways to interject into that behavior, which is human nature, but interject in there and break that up so that we can stay on the platform. Take that deep breath, feel that first thought come in and go, oh, isn't that interesting? Didn't know I was going to think about that, and let it go. And not add any more cars to it. And stay on the platform and go back to our breath. Staying just underneath the weather patterns of our very busy mind floating around. Just staying underneath that weather pattern. Staying calm, directing our focus back to whatever our center of that meditation is. And we get to choose that. That might be a body scan meditation where you just can take a couple moments to check in with all the different parts of your body, your limbs. How does it feel to relax into that relaxed state? You will find many options, and I could take you through a meditation here, something more than what I've done, but I would encourage you to look at some more of these videos. Look at some, if you have a smartphone, there's some wonderful free apps about mindfulness and meditation. There's a lot of very good information out there in regard to mindfulness and meditation. And again, I would encourage you to look at mindfulness styles of meditation. It's a very sound starting place. Anything by Jon Kabat-Zinn, he is kind of the founder of mindfulness meditation. MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, is beneficial. There's some great books. It's worth the time to explore and find those small ways through the course of your day to break up that pattern that our mind gets into. The more frequently we do these little interjections through the day, the more we will find that we identify the stress in our body, and this can contribute to better sleep patterns at night, contribute to less stress in our relationships, less stress in our work environment, because we're able to think more clearly, more flow in what we're doing, and benefit our lives physically, emotionally, and just giving us a greater sense of well-being. Thank you very much for joining us today.